there's definitely a bit of a debt crisis on both sides. I mean, on the founder side, and then also on the consumer side. I just was looking at a stat the other day that a third of American consumers have like precipitously high debt, and it's the highest consumer debt rate ever of all time. So we're seeing that like the American consumer is more content taking on debt to fund lifestyle rather than being judicious with how they're spending. And I think this is fueled by like our economy too, and the way that we advertise and push products out. And it's also just sometimes human
And
nature.
people just aren't taught about debt, right? Like debt can be used as a tool to build wealth, like 100%. I mean, that's how real estate really operates. Without debt, the real estate market would be dead. And so I just think people aren't educated about debt, right? Like, if debt's not helping you build asset and build ownership in an asset, like it's probably not going to be a good debt to take on. Like all this consumer financing, Klarna, Afterpay type of product. Like
It's a
if someone
bad
is,
type of debt.
oh, I mean, if someone has to take on debt to buy like, a handbag or shoes or whatever they want, like that's absurd. You shouldn't be buying that in the first place. And, debt just has such a big misconception. And I think a lot of people are like, no one teaches debt, right? And, debt should be used as a means to grow your asset value or make a real estate purchase. And I think that's a great way to utilize debt. And that's why, real estate revolves around debt. But in terms of, buying a luxury item, debt, it is not really a good solution.
I mean, this is exactly how like central banks stimulate the economy too. Like, it's debt financed, but I think said differently, it's like if you're using debt to finance the purchase of assets that are performing, meaning they generate cash flows in excess of whatever the interest rate was on that debt that you borrowed, that is by and large productive for society and productive for yourself. But if you're using debt to finance consumer luxury purchases, that's a negative to society as a whole. So I think it's a really interesting take. I think people don't explore enough into finance or debt or like, these concepts of credit and debt because it's made out to be more confusing than it actually is. And, there are a number of really good resources that I think, I'm hoping with, influencers and like people who are like actually just creating their brands around educating this stuff, it'll get out there to more and more people.